Today we're finding out what wines best pair with KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, or the Dirty Bird. We are the Wind Up Podcast. I'm Jason.
And I'm Trent, and we're here to bring you an unfiltered, unapologetically unprofessional journey of wine. We have a saying here:
Drink more,
try more, learn more. So, one of our segments is Thoughts of the Week, and my thought of the week was very, I guess, tied into our theme today, which is KFC. So, through my research, I was trying to understand what is a different and also good pairing for KFC. So I was looking at Andre Mack on Bon
Yes.
Appetit, and he did this a while ago. And one of the ones that he said for, I don't know, the American version of KFC, whether it's similar to Australia or not, is to do a Pet Nat. So that kind of got me thinking about, because I never tried a Pet Nat before.
I don't even know what a Pet Nat is. Okay, yes?
So you don't know what it is?
Don't know what
No,
it is.
okay, so Pet Nat stands for, is a French term called Petillant Naturel,
Of course, yes.
or otherwise known as naturally sparkling.
Right.
Okay, so you could see here, there's a few bubbles in it today. So how, the best way to explain it is probably how it kind of differs towards a normal champagne or sparkling wine. So for champagne sparkling wine, they tend to start with a still wine, so unbubbly, non-bubbly type of wine. Then they start to add a second piece of fermentation with the sugar and yeast to get the carbon dioxide to again get the bubbles through the champagne or the sparkling. The difference between sparkling wine and champagne to this is that they do it all in one go in the first fermentation. So what they do, they have the grape juice, the yeast, they cap it off, and it's done to ferment and create the bubbles, the alcohol within it.
The Pet Nat is that way.
Pet Nat
All
is
right,
that
okay.
way.
Right.
So the beauty of that is that also with Pet Nat being a bit more of a hipster drink as well, there's no rules around it in terms of what grapes, what varietals, kind of how long or whatever around it. So everything is quite organic, and really, even for each bottle, because we're doing the first fermentation within the bottle itself, there's a lot of unknowns to it. So from this that we're going to have today to the next bottle, which is from the same producer, same year, it could be quite different as well. So I think that's quite random and beautiful in a way, in that like everyone is a bit of a surprise.
There's more variety.
Yeah, more variety. So I'm thinking that similar to Pet Nat is like the idea of like similar to kombucha.
Yes.
You
Okay.
know, where you have that kind of natural fizz, that kind of fermentation, the little bubbles as well coming through. So this is like the alcoholic wine version of kombucha.
Does it mean it's healthier and like there's better probiotics in your gut?
I
for
think
that?
wine in general is always very healthy for you.
All right.
Um,
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not a medical professional, but you know, I would like to assume so. But no, I wouldn't say so. I think
Okay.
it's still fermenting the sugars, creating alcohol and carbon dioxide, except that you're doing it in the one go in the first fermentation rather than through the two goes as you would with champagne or sparkling. So
And champagne, it's typically set grapes that you're using, right? Is
Yeah.
it? Is that the case?
yeah, generally the three: Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier, I think it is.
Right.
But this one, it could be anything. I don't even know what grapes these ones are, but you know, there's all these different types, different flavors, different ones. So keen to try a lot more of these Pet Nats, and also keen to try this one today, and whether, you know, what I heard from Andre Mack is true to say Pet Nat KFC, it's a winner or not.
You got to trust Andre Mack. Andre Mack's a legend. I agree. Okay, keen to try that. And I've never heard it. It aligns to what we're trying to do with the show about trying more.
Yeah.
Something completely new. So, okay, all right. Good information on that one. I think for the thoughts of the week, mine is kind of related. So it was a good segue. I'm concerned about health. And since starting the podcast, and even if I look at what we're trying to do today, I feel like I'm getting a bit chunkadunka, to be honest. Lots of weight gain. Have you heard chunkadunka before?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't. I'm thinking that, is it number two's get a bit chunky and then a bit
No.
chunky as well?
You took it to another level. It's about the weight. It's about the fat. Since having more wine and enjoying more, I can't help but notice a bit more plumpness and roundness around the cheeks, around the body. Bit of weight gain that's going on.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the relationship between wine and weight gain and fat. And as I look at this oily KFC in front of us, I'm thinking, is this is this a good thing to continue to sustain? I was listening to what you're saying. Maybe Pet Nat is the way I need to go if it's a bit more healthier. But I was looking into this, and there are things about wine and alcohol to consider, which I wanted to share with you and everyone else. Around weight gain, the challenge with wine and alcohol in general is that it's empty calories. So there's not much. There's a lot of calories that are going to be burnt, not necessarily the high protein items that are good for your body and so forth. And the other challenge is alcohol is burnt first as an energy source in comparison to anything else. So your carbs, your sugar, your fat.
Yeah.
The body goes, I'd prefer to burn alcohol. Let's do that. And if you have a lot of alcohol and it's chewing away at that, you'll have some leftover stores of carbs or fats. And then that just turns into the chunky dunk of fat that's around you. And so that's something to be conscious of.
Yeah.
Wine, it is being promoted as good for the heart and so forth. And I haven't looked into the details of that. But if you have a lot of it, you're going to get some chunky
Does
dunk.
it mean you should be having lower alcohol wines is better for you? Because therefore you can kind of go through the alcohol first before going to the chunker dunkers.
That's right. And that's the tips. I think that's what I wanted to talk about.
Moderation.
What are the things to consider to get that balance? We want to enjoy wine. At the same time, we don't want to affect our health in too much. So things to think about: have low alcohol wine. Other things to think about, more obvious: drink less.
Or the other way is that it also can be inspiration for you to exercise more as well.
Or exercise more. I wanted to take that away as an option. It is there, probably something even requiring more effort. But other things to think about are, if you're going to drink, wine is better than beer because beer has more carbs.
Yeah.
Tick for wine. The other thing to think about is when choosing a wine, probably choose a dry wine over a sweet wine so that there's less sugar content. And then when you're out and consuming, try to eat first so that your tummy gets full.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to drink less, and always have more.
It makes
more
me
water.
think about like when you go to the supermarket, you have those kind of 5-star ratings. Do we need like that on wine to say, hey, this is a 4-star kind of good wine for you?
It could be an option for those that are health conscious and bringing it back to that label. I think that's where society is going. But that was my thoughts of the week as I look at this delicious KFC and think about how that's going to add to my chunker dunker. But let's dig into this. I think let's try that.
What I've been drinking.
And a good idea. Let's go into what have you been drinking for the week. Thanks.
Okay, so what I've been drinking, in line with this kind of healthy theme around KFC. Maybe slightly more healthy. Last weekend, I decided to make my own kind of homemade pork ramen. So I thought, what would kind of go well with that? Generally, you'll have beer, which you already said is not that good. So I was at Dan Murphy's and I asked the guy there, what would be good with a good pork ramen? And he recommended a 2016 Tyrrell's Estate Stevens Vineyard Hunter Valley Semillon. So aged Semillon. The reason why he picked that was, one, he said that it's like beer in a wine version.
Wow. Okay. You need to describe that. Why is that? Okay.
So it's a bit more rounded. It's a bit bigger to kind of match up towards the kind of the big rich flavors of the ramen, but it still had the kind of line of acidity as well, the kind of green apple acid kind of still cut through the fattiness of it. So surprisingly, it did work. The Dan Murphy's guy wasn't bullshitting me, actually knew his stuff. And I think also makes me want to try a bit more of the kind of aged Semillons as well, especially from the Hunter Valley.
I've never had an aged Semillon, to be honest, so I'd be keen to try that. You mentioned Dan Murphy's bullshitting you. That never happens. What are you talking about?
Nah, Dan knows best.
Good stuff. Good advice from there. All right. And so that's the wine of the week. Now we could probably jump into the content in the episode for today, which is about what wine pairs with KFC. And today we have 2 wines that we'd like to try. And in front of us, 2 great boxes of KFC. And KFC is actually, for those that know me, one of my favorite meals. In fact, growing up as a child, for my birthday every year, I would ask my parents for a bucket of KFC. That's all I wanted. I didn't need a gift. I just needed a bucket of KFC.
The Chunkadunkers.
And that's why I got Chunkadunka. So very special and important meal to me. And so this episode is exciting because it gets to combine a favorite beverage, which is wine, with my favorite meal.
So it feels like it's your birthday again, but even better because you got the wine with it.
It must be a milestone birthday. It's that good. And so my journey with KFC, I feel like it's matured over time. It used to just be original in the bucket. Then I graduated and I had hot and spicy to have a bit more heat.
Wow.
But now my go-to is the Wicked Wings. So I moved away from the original hot and spicy. Wicked Wings, little wings with a bit of crunch, tiny bit of heat and moisture to it. That's my go-to. If you think about KFC, is there any memories that come through? Anything exciting you about this?
I think the memories for me is original recipe initially. Love it. I've kind of moved on to the Zinger box now because I feel like you kind of get everything in there from the salads to the burgers to the original chicken, Wicked Wings as well. So the whole kit and caboodle, and I love that. The other thought that kind of pops into my mind is that what I noticed through road trips or even around Sydney is that not all KFC stores are the same.
Very true. Yeah. Okay.
So,
Let's give some differences here. What are the
differences, the chips is going to be a big kind of deal breaker for me because chips in one, you need that kind of hit of the chicken salt to kind of come through.
Yes.
The skin as well.
Yeah.
Even though they say it's consistent, the secret herbs and spices and all that one, you need ones that had that, I don't know, fresher, a bit more crispier kind of taste to it as well. So there's different elements. Like I know that there's ones in Sydney that I'm not expecting much from it. Whereas other ones I know there's got a good high standard that kind of keeps them delivering.
I feel like you don't want to reveal the secret store that you go to, but I agree, and I don't want to tell anyone my store. So,
Blacktown.
There is a go-to. All right, so that's about the KFC. Let's have a bit about the chat. Let's have a chat about the wines that we're trying to pair here. And what we did today is Trent had a challenge of selecting a wine, which he's talked about, which is the Pet Nat. And I also had a challenge to choose one. And I might share it here on the camera. So mine is a Sancerre, if you can see that there. All right, it's not working. We'll have to move this over. Can we see that on the screen now? Yeah. Okay. So we've got it on the screen. It's a Sancerre from the Loire Valley. So it's a French wine, and I don't know how you pronounce this. Patient Cottat Anciennes Vignes.
Patient Cottat.
Patient Cottat Ancient Vines. That's what I'm going with. I will be corrected for someone that can actually speak a bit of French. From the Loire Valley, it's a 2020. We got it from Dan Murphy's for about $46. And it's a French Sauvignon Blanc, and I've never had one of these before. I typically have a Kiwi, a New Zealand Sauv Blanc, and so I can talk a bit more about why I chose this later. But that's the wine that I would like to pair, and then I'll show your one, Trent.
Show my one.
If you can see that on the screen, do you want to talk to that?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, early into my thoughts of the week, Pet Nat, I hear about it all the time. I was keen to try it, so I thought this is a perfect opportunity to try the Pet Nat and be a bit of a hipster.
Perfect. All right, so I think let's get into the pairings here, and I think what we will do is have the original. Mm-hmm. Original is number one. Did you want to grab a piece of original?
Again, which piece do I pick?
It's always legs, right? Legs number one. But we've got a lot here. I'm a Chunkadunker, so I don't want a big piece. All right. So as always on the wind up, we're going to try the wine, taste it with our eyes, nose, and mouth Did you just have a bite of the KFC? You were really hungry. Trent just got
I
into
am
it.
hungry.
You are. All right, so let's we have the Pet Nat here in front of us, and we are going to look at it.
Let's have a look at the bottle.
Here we go.
You notice it's a bit. Oh, I don't know that things. It's like a bit
Cloudy.
cloudy. Yeah.
Yeah, really stands out as cloudy. And when you mentioned the kombucha, that's what reminds me of kombucha.
So let's try this. It does say it's a dry sparkling limestone clay. Let's see if it's hopefully fresh and zesty as it says.
So in the bottle, it's quite yellow and dense and cloudy, like you're saying. But actually, when it's poured out, it does look like a typical sparkling wine.
Cheap version of champagne, I think.
Yeah. So yellow, green, very light. Should be crisp. Bubbles coming through on the nose.
Smells nice. Smells zesty, fresh.
Yeah, the scent I get is the fermentation, actually, or the yeast. Like
Is that kind of, I don't know, bready, kind of
yes,
yeasty?
it
flavor?
really reminds me of kombucha. This is a great thing that you brought up. Just that smell comes through.
Which I think that kind of yeasty, kind of rounded.
Yes.
And this will kind of go. It does go well with KFC because I've already taken a bite. So I think it works. A bit of hint of zest there in terms of the lemon, kind of cutting through like lemon chicken, and then the roundedness around the yeastiness of the wine that kind of makes it come together. So I actually think this is a bit like beer and chicken as well. Because it does have the bubbles. It does have the kind of roundedness to it as well, and has a good line of acid as well.
So I just had a bite of KFC. Everyone knows it. Bit of fat, bit of oil, 11 herbs and spices. We'll try this.
I think it's really easy drinking as well. Like it feels, you have beer, you feel bloated. This one just kind of goes down really easy. It's not just a fruit drink like apple ties or something like that, but it does have that kind of bit of complexity with it as well, and it is a bit different. So I like it.
It's got quite a finish to it. The first thing I notice when it goes in is it just cleanse the mouth.
Yeah.
Like all of that oiliness and the herbaceousness is washed away.
Yeah.
And
Which makes you want to go back for another piece of chicken. So it's both a good and a bad thing in this case.
it's adding to the weight gain issue.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So a good wine pairing is not necessarily always a good thing. Is that what you're saying? In terms of it could force you to kind of eat more, drink more, and gain more.
and gain more. I like the variation to the slogan. I think about it does remind me a bit of champagne in terms of the flavors and the sharpness.
Yeah.
Strong white grapes. There is a bit of a finish to it, which still goes back to that. I'm trying to think of the words. It still goes back to that kombucha kind of yeasty flavor. I can still taste it in my mouth.
But less funky than kombucha.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
champagne has a much kind of more floral kind of finish to it, where this
Yes.
one's a bit more kind of restrained. So
Yes.
people of that kind of everyday drinking, and you're not going to be paying $80, not $100 for KFC. It might go well with Miga Ring, but I think for KFC you could probably go for the cheaper one.
Got it.
Let's move on to the next wine.
Yes, I think let's save our corkscrew ratings until after. So like I said, this is a Sancerre. It's a French Sauv Blanc, and I was thinking the typical fried chicken combination is to have it with champagne. The big restaurant Butter in Sydney typically does a lot of that. I think while you have a bite of that, the reason that I chose this is because A, I've never had a Sancerre, but two, it's high acid. There's a fair bit of citrus in it that will help cut through the herbaceousness and the oil. But something else that made it different was it stands out from the New Zealand Sauv Blancs because apparently there's a lot more minerality in this. And that's the thing that I wanted to see, how that kind of chalky saltiness minerality compares with the KFC. So you've had a bite.
I do know also with the New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs as well that they tend to be getting a not as good reputation because a lot of the wineries there is about more mass production, which means that a lot of them kind of taste the same. There's always going to be the kind of exceptions, but they say that that's the kind of thing that's coming through. So yeah, interesting to see now with this Sauvignon Blanc, especially from France. I think there's a bit more around the land, the different areas around
Loire Valley.
Loire Valley. So really keen to see this kind of expression of Sauvignon Blanc.
Apparently more limestone and clay, which brings out that minerality.
Okay.
And in comparison to the New Zealand ones, which are a bit more tropical flavors, apparently. So
Yeah.
pineapple,
very
etc.
light, kind of pale yellow in colour, quite clear. On the nose. Still quite tropical, fresh. With the New Zealand, it's very much kind of like fresh cut grass, but this is not so much. Bit more leaner.
The minerality scent, do you get that? I get that in the scent.
On the palate, it's really refreshing. Really just kind of hits it, cleans the palate again. Very good. I like it where the flavors are there, but it's a bit more restrained. It's not kind of overdoing it with some of the kind of Sauvignon Blancs you get in New Zealand. Quite balanced. In this case, it works well with the Wicked Wings I'm having now.
Yeah, I bit into the Wicked Wing while you were talking and just had some. I think balance again is a great keyword because I've only typically had New Zealand Sauv Blancs. I'm used to that, and usually it's a big strong hit of citrus. This is a bit more subdued. Also on the mouthfeel, I feel it's a bit closer towards a medium body. It's not as light as a typical New Zealand Sauv Blanc.
Would you say a full and round palate, well balanced and chiseled acidity?
Chiseled acidity is probably taking it a bit far, but well balanced and rounded. Yeah, I agree. The flavor of the minerality actually comes through, and I think it works with the KFC. To be honest, it's not a contrasting flavor.
But when you say minerality, and people always say that's a bit of a wank term as well. What do you think of when you think about minerality?
I think of those rocks that you're licking, and it's a bit salty. It's a bit of that flavor.
So I've got some rocks in the backyard.
Yes.
If you lick that, would that kind of give you that minerality as
I
well?
think that's another episode that we need to do.
Licking rocks.
But so between the two, it's interesting. I've just had another bite. What that saltiness or the mineral is that what your view on minerality is? Actually, by the way,
I say
your
as
view?
well. I think it's that kind of wet rock type of smell. The kind of the kind of river rocks kind of smell as the kind of the water kind of goes over it, and then you kind of those kind of pebbles.
Get the remnants of that. Yeah, understood. And we need to go lick some river rocks.
Yeah.
As I'm having the finish, I think they're two different pairings. To me, this is a bit more cleansing. The finish on this, it works with it. It's still got that saltiness in the mouth. So interested to see corkscrew ratings.
Corkscrew ratings. Okay. So should I go first?
Yeah, let's go with the Pet Nat.
Okay, the Pet Nat was at $35. I think that probably 7 out of 10. And then Sancerre, I think they're both 7 out of 10. I think we've done a really good job today, actually, in terms of both going well with the KFC. So 7 out of 10 for both of them.
If you were to choose one, you had to choose one. I agree. I think the ratings are pretty similar. Which one would you choose?
I'll pick the Pet Nat because of it's something a bit more different about it.
Yeah.
That makes me kind of think a bit more. So that's why I probably give it slightly more if I had to pick one.
Yeah, I think the kombucha flavor is completely something different that I've had. I would actually both. I think they pair both quite well, and I agree. I think it's a 7 out of 10 corkscrews for both. It depends on the mood. If you're out having a picnic in summertime, I think beautiful. The Pet Nat would be fantastic, refreshing, light. I feel like if you're having your KFC in winter, this is a bit more, bit of a more medium body, more rounded, and that salty flavor. So maybe choose it for the wintertime KFC.
Wow.
Summertime KFC, go for the Pet Nat.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Different wines for different seasons. That's another episode.
That is another episode. So there we go. So that's the wind up. we've gone through these episodes. I think from the pairings that we've had, try a Pet Nat, try a Sancerre. They work both with the original. They work also with the Wicked Wings. Definitely good pairing recommendations. Trent, did you have any other words that you wanted to add as part of the lineup?
I think I'm surprised today. We've done a really good job with both of them. So I think I'm pleasantly happy.
Well done. And so, quick reminder, if you don't want to get fat, don't have this pairing too often. Try it once in a while. It's probably not the best for your health. But in terms of flavor, extreme happiness. This is my birthday, so it feels exciting. It's like my birthday celebration. Sorry. All right, and so let's wind it up there. And if you want to remind everyone of our slogan.
Okay, it's drink more, try more, learn more.
Don't forget to download, subscribe, and like. And thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy KFC.
Bye.